Chaim so soda. Chaim l'chaim, Chaim. Chaim, Wow. Today is a very special day. Imeledes, the Rebbe Marash, it's 190 years ago exactly. Iyer. The Rebbe Marash, I believe, has a special relevance to our generation, because as we see, how much the Rebbe is like a kochzach, the Rebbe Marash, starting even before the Nesias. You don't know how busy the Rebbe was in running the whole Merkez Chinuch, and giving out Sifrei Chassidus of the Rabbeim, the Friedrich Rebbe and other Rabbeim. And he found the time to write a sefer called Sefer HaToldos Admur Marash. It's the only one that the Rebbe wrote, writing a biography about the Rebbe Marash Dafke, very detailed, taken from sources from the Friedrich Rebbe and other places. We know in the later years that the Rebbe called the Nigen, when we were Bachim, it was called Nigen 1, 2, 3, 4. The Nigen that they just sang now, the Rebbe Marash, was called 1, 2, 3, 4. It has our 4 stanzas. And the Rebbe gave it a name, the Nigen L'Chatchil HaRibber. The Rebbe constantly kept on repeating the famous saying, and it became famous through the Rebbe, obviously, because you don't find that it was brought down dozens of times in the Friedrich Rebbe's Rishimas and the Sichas, but the Rebbe brought it down many, many times. The famous saying, "The Welt zocht," the world, which means the outside world, the regular people are saying, "Am bekennisht arunter darf man arriba." If you can't go under, you're stuck. It means you can't go straight, obviously. Then you have to, so if you can't go straight, so you try to go under. If that doesn't go, geten arriba. Then you have to try, that's extra exertion and extra work to go arriba, over. When you go over, you have no difficulties of going under and getting all dirty and everything else. You go arriba. When Nirzog, the Rebbe Marash says, I say, l'chatchila arriba. L'chatchila, right away from the outset, don't try in small levels and constrained, restricted, Chatchila Rebbe to go big. This the Rebbe demanded in everything what the Rebbe wanted his Chassidim and his Shluchim to do, in a way, Chatchila Rebbe, to think big. Even in Tzedakah, I remember by Farbrengen once, the Rebbe said they should give a Yosef in Tzedakah, to increase in Tzedakah. So the Rebbe said, Ich meinish, I don't mean that for a Jordan, to gegeben Gematria Teiv. Teiv is 17, like the sphere of tonight, Teiv. And again, gave my Yosef a Chai dollar. Rebbe said Chai dollar. From Teiv, from 17, is going to Chai dollar. That's a Yosef. And the Rebbe, the famous Farbrengen, the Rebbe himself by Farbrengen, they needed money for Chabad, or special Farbrengen, so the Rebbe said he's going to take out make a Magbis, and by the Magbis, it's an appeal, in other words, which Rebbe did by certain Farbrengens in the weekdays for various tzedakahs. This was an unusual tzedakah, it was a one-time thing for Chabad. So he's going to take out what people pledged he's going to read it barabim, but he's not going to say the amount. He'll say the person's name, and he's going to suggest and to say what he should give. So by some people he said, we don't know what was written there. He said, 10 times as much. If a person gave, the Rebbe said to give, whoever, I don't know what the person gave. Some people he said 1.5 times as much. One type of person he said, he gave a check, he said to add a 0. And he said, ich mein von der rechten Seite, on the right side, add the 0. You know, he had it on the left side, you know what it's worth. At those days, people didn't have money. It was verquetscht, den ganzen verquetscht, bedachus. And the Rebbe hat Chila Riber aufheben, Chassidim, in alle Inyonim. So there's one Inyan that is in my mind, this is goes back before the Rebbe started Kochzach, the Rebbe Marash to such an extent. This goes back to a Farbrengen, the Tovshin Chav Beis, one of the most unusual Farbrengens by the Rebbe, since there's no recording of it, so it's maybe not so well known. Purim Tovshin Chai people know this was similar in many ways, even more unusual than Purim Tovshin Chai, and had to do with the Russian Jews. It had to do with things that the Rebbe said at that time was completely unusual in the Rebbe's style. And the Rebbe himself said that, even going against the thing of the Frierdiker Rebbe. We'll see in a moment. But for that we need Shikol Hakdome, but you could say, but led up to it. It led up to that Isgalus by that Farbrengen. And just in short, people know that Chassidich Chabad grew up in Russia, almost 200 years. And then it was Russia was a land, a country that says, Ein Eved Yochel Livreich Mishom. Even a slave, nobody was able to escape from there. When they came in, the Rishoyim, who were leading Russia at that time, didn't allow anybody to leave. And Yidden, many of the Chassidic Chabad, that during the war, they ran away from the inner cities like Moscow and Leningrad that was surrounded, and many people died there. But the Nazis, including the city of Nebel, for example, they occupied it, they killed almost the whole town. So people found out that they can run away to cities far, far away in Uzbekistan, like Samarkand, Tashkent, and little by little, many Chassidim came there, and they established yeshivas there, Tzabislach, and Chadorim, and Bate Knasiyas, and underground, etc. was far from the war zone, and they were able to flourish there for those few years, even though it was difficult, obviously, they had no money, but gelebt. When my parents were there, Rabbi Mochkin was there himself, in Samarkand, yeah? Tashkent. This is probably, don't give us a live report. And but you still couldn't get out of Russia. After the war was over, it was back to the oppression and back to everything else. Then they realized that maybe a door opened up. There's a possibility of leaving Russia. How is that? Because during the war, and the war, as we know, Poland was the first one that was hit. So many hundreds of thousands, maybe millions even, of Polish citizens, including Goyim, obviously, and Yidden, escaped to Russia, because at that time the war was in Poland, wasn't in Russia. When the war was over, the Russian government said that they can barely take care of the people in their own country. They can't have any refugees coming from other countries. They asked everybody to leave, the Polish citizens to leave, go back to Poland, establish themselves back there again, etc., etc. So the Chassidim thought of an idea that if they can get some type of documentation to show that they're a Polish citizen, either they were born in Poland or they lived in Poland, they have a passport, whatever it may be, that'll be a way to escape. So what happened was that they tried to find Polish passports. Some people passed away while they were in Russia. So each passport was a heinav, was worth a lot of money and very choshev that someone can use to escape and to go out of Russia. And then they started also forging documents to specialists and so Malichtik Gan Eden, as I know Berel's brother, Leibel Mochkin, Yedua, that he was very much involved in it, and a few other people, with the Momasada, and other people, Bala Mesiras Nefesh, and they, maybe 1,200, over 1,000 Chassidim left in that way. It was a tremendous sakona. They had to bribe the guards, and they had to bribe the people at the borders and the train, etc. The Chulu was a big operation. There's a lot to talk about this. They need a lot of money, and then there was the Chassidim, the Rabbonim, said that whoever has money, any amount of money, they have to take for themselves what they need a little bit, and the rest they have to give away for the kuppah, for the fund, to be able to save Yidden to get out of Russia. My father, for example, he was just married a few years. He got married 5-6 years before, and under the conditions over there, he opened a little, what they call a fabrik. Was able to tricotage and knitting a little bit. So he made a few ruble, and he gave everything away as requested. He gave everything away. Rabbi Futterfast was an Lendavad, and other Siddim who's passing that everybody has to give, and the people gave it. The bottom line is this way: many Yidden escaped from Russia. They went, and eventually they ended up in Germany, which was then liberated in the American zone, and from there they went on to Paris. Many of them and then to Israel and to Australia and then to America, etc., etc. And the way it worked, as mentioned before, they had a passport. Let's say that had a husband that was at the age. Let's say was 44 years old. The wife was 40 years old, and they had some children. One was 20, one was 18, one was 16. A girl, a boy. So they had to match up the people with that passport. They said, okay, we need a boy who's 15 years old. Okay, we need a girl who's 10 years old. They didn't even go with the families. Just the idea was to get out. And many people in that way, they got out. And later on, the others left also. So this happens to be about famous Chassid, Rabbi Kechain. Is my uncle, my mother's brother. And he was also one of the people who was involved with the passports, etc. Because his brother, David Leib, moved to the city, Lvov, Lemberg, which was mamish on the border between Russia and Poland, where the whole activity was taking place. And it was obviously over there, everybody had to be registered. You couldn't walk around the street like that. Necessarily, even to that Zehut, you had to show an identity card, who you are, what you are, you don't belong in the city, what are you doing. The whole thing was Sakonis Nefashos, the whole thing. So upon him, he was very much involved also with the other Chassidim and helping out to get out. So he had two sons, young boys, and 10 years old, 8 years old, and they left with their grandparents, which is Zalman Kalmanson, who his the mother's father. They eventually ended up in Kfar Chabad. And Berke Chein, he found out that they're searching for Mamish at night. All of a sudden, after Tav Shavov in 1946, for an entire year, come out moving in Tav Zion. So they realized that was going on, at least whatever, maybe they realized before, but the bottom line is they stopped everything and they started searching and they made a whole thing to find out what's going on, etc., etc. And they arrested many people. But some escaped. But many people were arrested, like I mentioned before, my uncle David Leib and Avram Adon, his other brother, and Berke Chein, they were arrested. The Mendel Futterfass, these are people that were involved, were arrested, so they couldn't even get to leave Russia and go outside of Russia. And then the wife, and sometimes the wife, like in the case of Mendel Futterfass, his wife and children, they left Russia, and he stayed behind, and Berke Chein, his two sons left, his wife stayed behind, etc. And he was arrested, Berke, and went from one jail to another jail. He ended up in Spalerke a little bit. In the end, after sitting a few years, his wife and other people managed to bribe the guards over there in the jail, and he escaped. And all of a sudden, it means he was never released. So they put him on the most wanted, a guy escapes from jail, etc. So he was constantly in hiding, running around from one place to another place. And his son, Motel Chein, in Tavshin Yud Ches, he was already a bocher, and he came 770. There was no kvutz in those days. He came 770 to learn, and he was in Yechidus, and he asked the Rebbe for a bracha that his parents, a sister was born to them, and she'd be able to come out of Russia. And like then, there was like a cholim. Like, remember when we grew up, even as a child, we felt in any case that till Mashiach comes, no one's getting out of Russia. It's in they had, for example, nothing was allowed into Russia. I remember when we, this whole story also, my mother got hold of the address of her father who stayed behind in Russia, the Pedits, and so he wrote a letter, and the letters were written in a way, the secret, that I shouldn't understand exactly what it is, but we understood that he wants a siddur. So we took an envelope like this, we put a siddur inside, we ripped out the first page and the last page. The first page it says 770 Eastern Parkway, and the last page has the Rebbe's name in the back over there. In most siddurim in those days, today some have, some don't have. And we put it in a regular manila envelope and sent away. 3 months later, it came back with a stamp from Russia, a stamp, official stamp. Religious articles are not allowed in Russia. That's Zayt Megillah. There's many other stories. By the way, they found now the whole file, Remendel Futafas, a big thick file. So there's a lot of stories coming out now. It's going to be printed soon. They're preparing it now for print. There'll be a lot of information about what happened at that time, from official documents from the Russian government they were able to get. So Kaponim, so Motl Chain asked the Rebbe. So the Rebbe told him that he should apply for an exit visa to leave Russia. So he wrote in also that he was hiding on a different name. You know, when he was hiding, he managed to get a different name. They shouldn't be able to find him. So he had some documentation on someone else's name. So the Rebbe said, write everything the truth. His real name, his real address. The Rebbe said, they will not realize what's going on. So they wrote that information also in a hidden way, obviously, that the Rebbe said that they should realize, etc. And there was a bracha, and then took a little while, back and forth, and then the beginning of Tovshin Chof Aleph, at the end of 1960, he was called into the office over there. They told him that you have, I think, 24 hours. So once you have to leave, get out of here. They kick you out. The Friedrich Rebbe also in such a way. Once you leave. So he has to leave right away. Baruch Hashem, Chedesh Tishrei Tovshin Chof Aleph was able to leave Russia, him and his wife and his daughter, and they came. They settled right away in Kfar Chabad. And that summer, he has an older son, Simcha, who was involved in the Sefer L'Melocha and the Nagarut. Shmolik, some we can him that name. Yeah. So Akaponim, he was a bacher then, and then he got engaged and got married in the summer of Tov Shechaf Aleph. So Berke Chaim's good friends told him that, you're wearing a casket. You don't have any money, Mistam, you're wearing a casket. Like you came out of Russia, but in Eretz Yisrael, you wear a casket. They'll think you're either a garbage cleaner, or a train driver, or something else. Nobody wears it. People wear a normale Hitler, like normale Menschen wear it. So don't embarrass your son by coming to the chasana with that casket. It's supposed to be an embarrassment. So Al Kaponim, he grew up in Neville, in Chabad, in Timchat Mimim, a Kabbalah sales. He listened, he went, they bought him a hat, a schlapper like that. He said, the Rebbe wears such a hat. Look, he went. Then, for Batishre Chavreis, he came to the Rebbe, the first time he saw the Rebbe. And they told him also, when you go to New York, for sure, you look like an idiot walking around with a casket. You put on a schlapper, you have to put on a hat, looks like an amala mensch, and that's it. The Rebbe was a hat. Right? He gefolgt, and he wore his hat, and the Rebbe gave him a lot of kiruvim, beit kiyas. The Rebbe asked specifically that he should stand right next to him, beit kiyas. The first day, the second day, should stand beit kiyas, and many other inyanim. And that's how it was. Simchas Torah Ta'akofis. What was?
Kinder don't make nothing.
The Kinder, sein Sohn, yeah, Mottel, yeah. That's right, yeah. He has the son also take it. Mottel should also stand on the beamer. Yeah. Wer? Ein Mendel ist gewesen, also ist Farbrengen. He was, by the way, he was the first one that came out of Russia after Russia was locked up.
Yosef, I cannot hold myself, but I remember when Berkechem came, the whole Anash, which was probably about 150 people, came with buses to Mekabel Ponim Zayin, and we stayed. The airport in Norfolk, it was very close. You can see that when he came, we felt that somebody's coming from Mars. Like come out from Russia, but when we saw him walking, it was like unbelievable.
Ganz Chabad gefahren in
You're talking 14, 15 years that nobody saw anybody coming out of Russia from the Chassidim. Nobody came out. It's not that he came out and now the gates opened up. The gates didn't open up. He came out and again they finished. So Akaponim, so the Rebbe gave him all this kiruvim, etc. Simchas Torah, B'hakofes, as you can't einhalten, sag. And he said, listen, he stayed in our house, so I heard from a lot of the things directly. He said, Hakofes, when I'm all in Neville, the way the Alter Heim, Samarkand, and Tashkent, we get danced. Once reminded us of when I'm all, he said that the schlappe is bothering him. It's like he put on like I'm Purim, he put something on that doesn't belong to him. He took off the schlappe, took off the hat, and he put on his casket, and he danced and he hulit. And the 770 was small then. It was just, that time was just the black back, what's today called the back of 770. It was built already. Tavshon Chavbeis was just built the shalash. They just put up the walls. The windows weren't even ready then. It was small. The shul was very, very small. And he was, the Rebbe was watching the whole time. I mean, see everything. It was a very small area there. And they get danced and gehulet. The second night, Shminat Tzeres and Chasted. No, it came to the Farbrengen, the big Farbrengen, some Chasted started as the Rebbe said that he instituted that. The Rebbe said it's his chidush, no Rabbeim did it. That all the Yomim Tovim would make a Farbrengen before the Shkia on the last day. Let's say the Shoshana, the second day the Shoshana, the Simchas Torah, the Achashal Pesach, and the second day Shavuos, etc. We make and people would wash. The Rebbe, everything was in halacha. If you wash, and you start a suda on Yom Tov or on Shabbos, and then you can eat for. You need a whole week, and if you keep on eating, you have to say that which means halachically it's pulling over into the chel. The kid is brought into the chel. So it was a long Farbrengen. It started, let's say, around 6 o'clock, 5:45. Farbrengen, those Farbrengen used to last quite a while, for a long time. Then was Kishol Bracha, etc. So, but the Farbrengen, this big Farbrengen, Covers were over, so again he has to look normal. He has to put on his costume over there, and he put it on. He put on the hat, put on the schlappe, and the Rebbe. As soon as the Rebbe walked in, the Rebbe was sitting. Let's say here, there's rows of tables. He was sitting like the third, fourth person over there in the rows, and so the Rebbe looked at him and he says, "Was I did a modern Eid, the tongue on a modern hittel? What are you, a modern Jew? You put on a modern hat. Tutu is the hittel. Tutu is the hittel. Schlappe. Take it off. Take it off. So we aim it. So he took it off. He took off the schlappe. So he took off the schlappe. He was sitting like this in a yarmulke. Sitting in a yarmulke in front of them. And the Rebbe's geisen. So the Rebbe took from his table, he took a napkin and he said, "Natech an Amerikaner makif." Take an American cover. So he put it on. This way, that. Put on a cover. Put on a hat. But what happened was he asked him, "Where's the casket?" So he told him it was locked up. There's Abba Pliskin, Merachosid, he used to live in Australia. Then he moved to New York. He was a good friend with the Melder Futterfass, and so he became a shikol shamish dort. in 770. So they had a stick of locker, and after the elevator's in the basement, now you can't get it, it's locked up. But a little further, there was a little room there, so he locked it up. He asked him, lock up my casket. I'm putting on the schlapper. Okay, putting on the hat. But he was a chassid, it was a nechbal akeli, you couldn't find him. So he was so nechbal, nobody was able to find him. Like upon him later, someone else had the key, but the people he was sitting with the napkin, he was sitting as with the napkin with the yamelkin, and by the Farbrengen. And then finally they brought him, and also when he came, he brought with him a real bona fide bottle of mashke straight from Russia. They couldn't get that in America in those days. Some 6 or 9 ago, I didn't read the exact proof what it was. He sat down with that bottle, and the Rebbe saw the bottle there. So the Rebbe called him up after the sikha that he should pour into the Rebbe's becher to pour in mashke. And at the end of the sikha, the Rebbe basically like this a little bit. He drank the whole kos, and this went on a few times. So the Rebbe drank said a lot of l'chaims on mashke. Answer cases, maybe more than the people who are put into Avshachai, it was maybe even more. But again, there's no recordings of this, so it was hardly even a hanocha in those days to put together a hanocha. No. So that was by the Farbrengen. That's how it started. Singing Anigen, and I'll tell you what went on by the Farbrengen with the Rebbe Marash. This is only Hagdoma to be able to understand what went on. But remember again that he was the first Yid, Mamish, that came out after 15 years. That was Mamish Sogur and Mesugir. He came out the first one. So, but the Rebbe, most of the Farbrengen was revolving around that. No, Singing Anigen.
And die het, ik denk dat ze in hetzelfde, net als een beeld. We hebben gezorgd dat dat is een beroemding, zeer schijn, met een kasket. De laten hij dat te verwachten, rennen wij dat we dat feest doen. Dan ga je met het al hier, en ik ga water hebben.
Wat slaapt er?
Yeah, the cassette. It's very old. So he fixed it out. I think we get to
As mentioned, L'chaim.
Get a little closer.
L'chaim. As mentioned, the Rebbe then took a lot of mashke, and the elder Chassidim at that time were concerned about the Rebbe's health. Some say it had to do even with the Rebbe's Shnas HaShishim. Rebbe wasn't 60 years old then. In Aleph Nisan, Rebbe became 60. And they were worried about the health of the Rebbe, so they asked him that they should watch the Rebbe's health. So they came over to the Rebbe, the Shmuel Leviten, and were speaking to the Rebbe. He sat right behind the Rebbe, and after a minute, you couldn't hear what. There was no microphone. You couldn't hear what the conversation that went on, but he said a few words, and he went back down, went back to his seat. And then Rabbi Rivkin came over to the Rebbe, and also for a few minutes, and then it didn't work. They asked Rashag. Rashag should go over to the Rebbe and also ask the Rebbe to issue Makasa the Farbrengen and the Mashkin, the Farbrengen so long with all the Zachen. So what the Rebbe spoke to Rashag, we were able to hear, because if the Rebbe was sitting here, the Elter Chassidim sat behind the Rebbe. Rashag used to sit over here. He went this way in front of the table, so he came facing the Rebbe. So everybody was standing, they was able to hear what's going on. Okay? So the Rashag told the Rebbe also about the Makasa the Farbrengen, etc., the Rebbe's health, the Mashke, whatever it is. So the Rebbe tells him, amongst the things he said, He says, but the Rakshik Rav Zog, the Rakshik Rav, Rab Shmuel Levitman was a Rav in Rakshik, in Lita. He said, but the Rakshik Rav Zog, weiß ich nicht, was will. Was Rabbi Rivkin sagt, weiß allein nicht, was will. Und was willt ihr? What do you want? And the Rebbe told him, it's Farbrengen at Eir HaBeker. Farbrengen started at 6 o'clock in the evening. And Kach HaBeteke, after Kishal Bracha, remember, we left, so people were already going to work, going to the subways, already 6 o'clock in the morning. They're going to work. So Mamish, some of the longest, maybe the longest Farbrengen ever. Farbrengen, Kishal Bracha. So, and that was the whole atmosphere of the Farbrengen. There's a lot of Asias from the Rebbe, it's what people remember, so I just want to read some things, Mamish, not as much as possible. And by the way, they write even a Ha'orah here, that the one in Metzayin, that during the Farbrengen, the Rebbe was a Maimed Masav, his Galus, his Pashtus, his Rachvus, Chulu. Gam Lokach Harbe Mashke, no, translate that. His Galus, Rebbe Bell, his Galus, his Pashtus, his Rachvus. What?
Zog auf Yiddish.
His Galus. His Galus is that it was revealed.
Das Yiddish.
Das Yiddish. Das heißt ein Yiddish. His Pashtus, the Rebbe Moshe left the Hagbolah's limitation, his Rachvus, in a broad way. He was speaking openly. It was a different style of speaking. It was Mamish, we were able to see that clearly. So at least, again, so by that Farbrengen, after the Maimed, the Rebbe said they should sing the Rebbe Marashas Nigel, Chatchila River. And then the Rebbe said, it's known that the Rebbe Marash had a Baal Shemski Hanhoge. Things were done, he conducted himself in a way of the Baal Shem Tov, which means L'mayla Mederech HaTeva. Baal Shem Tov, Teva, and Ma'avdech HaTeva was the same thing, Ma'avdech HaTeva. He said not only after, he was Mekabel in the Siyas, this means after Tofish Chavov, when the Tzemach Tzedek was nostalgic, but also before Kabbalas HaNesiyas, he used to go on the shlichus of his father, the Tzemach Tzedek, and the Baal Shemski Hanhoges, and Achas Kam Vekamo, after Kabbalas HaNesiyas. And this continued even after the Histalkus, Kedusha Lezozim Imkeme. So after the Histalkus, there's still the Inyan of the Baal Shemski Hanhoge of the Rebbe Marash, and it's even, in a way, it's even more, because it says, we know what it says in the Alter Rebbe writes in the Geras HaKodesh, brings from the Zayah that after the Histalkus is found even more than before. And the Rebbe adds now, even though we say that there was a Baal Shemski Hanhoge, so it means the whole thing is the Baal Shem. So the Rebbe said there's a major difference between the Hanhoge, the way that Baal Shem Tov conducted himself, and the Rebbe Marash. So the Baal Shem Tov life was a life of poverty, of difficulty, and the same thing was by the Mezritcher Magid and the Talmidim, etc. The Hanhoge of the Rebbe Marash was in the exact opposite way, in a way of rachvus and ashirus, riches, in a very, very expansive way, with gold and silver, like a nosi and a melech. So the difference, even though it's a Baal Shemski Hanhoge, you're using the credentials, so to speak, of the Baal Shem Tov, but it's a big difference by the Rebbe Marash compared to the Baal Shem Tov. Whatever that means, this is what the Rebbe said. And the Rebbe said that this Hanhoge, that he acted in such a way, wasn't just when he became Rebbe. Like you said, Nosi Melech. Not only that, it's known the story, there was a Chosid that won the contract to build roads in Russia. A government contract he won. He made a lot of money, and he had a very strong connection with the Tzemach Tzedek. And to thank the Tzemach Tzedek, that was either he gave him a good advice or any other way. So he brought to the Tzemach Tzedek a coach, but a coach that goes on in the winter, like on they use the word sled. It sounds like a sled of the kids. It wasn't a sled. There's a chimafur, a beautiful, beautiful coach. But instead of having wheels, half the time in Russia was frozen and full of snow. They didn't have the machines to take away the snow, etc. So you had to travel in the snow. So you had a good sled. It was comfortable, etc. So he brought the Tzemach Tzedek this big matana. Tzemach Tzedek told him, "I don't need this." And the Rebbe said, "And Tzemach Tzedek was detached from Yoni Elam, from physical things. He didn't do it. He said, if you want, give it to my son, Shmuel, the Rebbe Marash." No. So the Rebbe Marash Hanhoge was Bashirus. So not only was Al Pishuch HaNorich, the Rebbe said, like it says on Posik, Eiser Shomer Lebe'olov, that riches can be kept for a person, Chas v'Sholem, not for the good things. But the same way, just like the house like that, obviously it's the other way around also. The Eisher can be done in the right way, like you had the Zov, the Kesef, and the Cheshos, the Avnei that you had in the Mishkan was obviously done to B'Shachanti B'Seichel. So not only did he have that, but he had the chelik of the Anhogah of the Baal Shem Tov. So this the Rebbe gave the introduction. There was Baal Shem Tov, but Baal Shem Tov with a notch up, because Baal Shem Tov with Archove on top of it. Baal Shem Tov had Baal Shem's Kinyonim and with Dachis. This was an Inyan that had L'chatchila with Archove. And the Rebbe added, so since by the Rebbe Marash, he invoked the Rebbe Marash by the Farbrengen. Since the Rebbe Marash of Hashem's Kanhogis, through that he was able to impact and to affect whatever he wanted, even in things that have to do with how the government is run. And if it was done with Darkinayim in a pleasant way, he was able to accomplish it, he did it. If it was no other choice, he did it with harsh words. A lot of the stories in the Rebbe's and the Shemis, stories about the Rebbe Marash about that. And then the Rebbe added a line, even though it's known, there's a Pisgum that the Friedrich Rebbe said, in Balabatischkeit mishman sich nicht. And how to run the governments, that's an area that you stay out of. There's a story there that in Tavshin Ches, I think Purim, Tavshin Ches, that in Rechol Dvorkin, that time was, the Matzon at Yisrael was also, right in Tavshin Ches, Purim, situation was difficult over there, so he said there should be Sholem, and he said some things about the Matzah. So the Friedrich Rebbe said, in Balabatischkeit, there he said, Machen Paratkes mishman sich nicht. Paratkes means to make organized, but don't say the famous word. The Tzemach Tzedek used to make Paratkes in Peterburg under Shoshana. He used to arrange who's going to be the next, the Melech, who's going to be this, Tzemach Tzedek. But generally, the Friedrich Rebbe said, and Rebbe writes that in a letter also, Niklas Kate is a letter also, the Rebbe said, Balabatischkeit mishman sich nicht. We stay out of it. So here the Rebbe said, even though in Balabatischkeit mishman sich nicht, so normally it's not the right thing to do, but nevertheless, he brings the Rebbe Marash, we have to impact, we have to do this. So even though the Rebbe said, that's not the way to do it, brings the Rebbe Marash in, and he said, we have to do it, that that in all the countries in the world, especially the Eden that are Mached and Mosach HaBarzel, behind the Iron Curtain, they should have everything they need, and also in a way of Archoven. Okay? And the Rebbe said also that he has a Maimer just now that came out from Russia. And then the Rebbe went on to say, there's a Maimer of the Mittler Rebbe, it's called Lahovin Inyan Lekichas Anshe Chayil. To understand, sprinted Mamora with Mamsoi, that to understand what is this Hinyan that people were taken against their will to serve in the Russian army, known as the Kantonisten. They took little kids, literally kidnapped little children, and they grew up in the army bases without any Yiddishkeit, no Cheder, no nothing. Was? Was said is going by Chodesh. Yeah.
Angeheben bei Sofjom. Von Sofjom mit Lorem angeheben, ja.
Yeah, so
Sofjom, letzte
So they used to take them away. It was mamish a gefährliche Gseide, and they mitzvahs, everything was missing. Rahman al by them. So a maimer to explain what it is. Wie come to such a thing happens? Yes. So the teichen of the maimer is that even though that through being taken in the army at such a young age, etc., they'll be lacking in Torah mitzvahs, they can't do Torah mitzvahs properly. Nevertheless, the little Torah mitzvahs that they do is beloved and is greater manachas by the Eibishter more than the kima Torah mitzvahs than before they were taken into the army. In other words, by being taken in because they can't do it, that's difficult. The Eibishter has a nachas ruach. So the Rebbe says, well, it's true, that's the Maimer, but everything has the opposite also. That we can also, the time has come that now all of this can be done by Harchove Beruchnis and also Harchove Begashmis. So the Rebbe said he was not dealing now with the Eibishter's Nachas Ruach. He was trying to work something out of it, make a deal. He said the Nachas Ruach of the Aveda of all those people that were taken for the dozens of years already happened. Yetzer Geven, you wanted Nachas Ruach, you had your nachas ruach from the people over there. So now the time has come, the nachas ruach has to be of the Aveda, of the Eden, in that country should be in the way of Archove, without any difficulties, to have Archove complete whatever they need. They should be able to become Torah mitzvahs, Bereish Gleish, Be'eva Meshvesam, Be'erechnu V'Gashmi, Be'nereinu, Be'skaneidu, Be'banei, Be'neseinu. And all the way through, they and the children should have everything that they need, B'Archove, in a way that without any hindrances in Torah mitzvahs. So now what you're saying, that the Eibishter, the Nachas Ruach that he has, the time has come now, we have to have a Nachas Ruach from the other way. No. And the Rebbe continued. The Rebbe said, pertaining to our Inyan we were discussing over here, since we have Asura mi Yisrael, and many times Asura, many times of Asura, so they can impact, they can affect, to be Ashkif Minkowicz from Hashemayim, Mevorach Samcha Yisrael, specifically about the Eden that are a Meitzer, a Shivya, that are trapped, behind the Iron Curtain, that all the unwanted things should be transformed. And the first and foremost, the Agola they done immediately, they should go out to a Maimed Matzav to be completely free, Merchav Atzmi, and everything that they need, and Gashmis, for themselves, Rabbanis, etc. And then the Rebbe repeated again, notwithstanding the Pizgim of the Shver, that you don't mix in the Balabatischkeit of the countries. See, he said clearly, notwithstanding. But the Friedrich Rebbe said that you're not supposed to mix into that. The Rebbe said we have to. We have to be pale that it should have the Cheres Begashmis, Meifim Golul, Leine Bosa Mamish, the Gulul Klal Sham Gol Mitzvah Shleima. And then the Rebbe continued that in the Posik of Tzomol Nafshi, Baal Shem Tov says, Came Bakerush Chazisicho, that means that Tzomol Nafshi was better to see of Oyu. David Melech said when he was far away from the base of from the Mokim of Shalayim and everything else, and he was Tzomol Nafshi. So came Bakedesh, he was hoping to gewünschen that Bakedesh in the base of Mikdash or Bakedesh in the holy place should be Chazisicha, we should reach that level. In other words, that Simoyin that people have over there, we should have. So Rebbe said that we should have the Simoyin, the thirst that the Eden in Russia have, we should have it over here. We're over here, we should have their thirst that they have. And then the Rebbe himself started singing Nafshi, that a few times it happened at Farbrengen. The Rebbe said one stanza, and the Elam sang it, and the next one, a tremendous instructions. The Rebbe sang the Nigen. Then the Rebbe said they should sing the Nigen Shir Samecha. Shir Samecha was then a new song. It was adopted by. It was not originally a Lubavitcher Nigen. There's people who claim the fame for it. I'm not going to go into that now, but definitely not from Lubavitch. And what? I won't go into it. I won't go into it. Tversky claims it. Actually, I won't go into it. The bottom line is Shir Samecha, and that became the theme song, you can say, for the Russisch Eden. That year, Chav Beis, it became the Nigen. The Rebbe spoke by Farbrengen Russisch Eden. Always followed, and here the Rebbe said to sing Shir Samecha. By the way, I remind myself, by the Seder, I think it was Tafshich of Gimel, at the end of the Seder, after they sang Kiliyat and everything else, so the Rebbe said, Zokte Shir Samecha. And then the Rebbe said, the Welt meint, as a Nishkin Lubavitcher Nigen, Salibavitcher Nigen. So notwithstanding all the above, who was Mechaber, Shishagei was Mechaber for Lubavitch. Lubavitcher Nigen were not made by the Rabbi, most of them, was made by Chassidim. Became a Lubavitcher Nigen. So whoever made the Nigen had like Grace and Schus, and same thing with Shabbat Reis HaMikdash. The Grace and Chazan made the thing, it became, so the Rebbe said, I heard from the Rebbe, Salibavitcher Nigen, Salibavitcher Nigen. And that became the Nigen Shir Samecha. Upon the Rebbe said, Shir Samecha, after Tzomol Nafshi, then the Rebbe stood up, which might be some of the only time, maybe one more time, the Rebbe stood up by Farbrengen. I said, a Sikh standing by Farbrengen, not by the standard that we heard many times in the later years, but by Farbrengen, in those days, Chal was non-existent. And the Rebbe stood up, and he said a Sikh after this B'srachshus of Tzoma Lochanafshi, L'shir Samecha. And the Rebbe said that once when they gave over a pidyon to the Frierdiker Rebbe, so the Frierdiker Rebbe says, since we have now standing by the pidyon, so this, since there's a minion of people that has the strength of the Psak Din of Bezdin Shalmato, and the Eibishter gave over to the Bezdin Shalmato everything. Like it says, Asher Tikro Eisom. So you read Atem, Afilu Shegim, Afilu Mezidin, Afilu Motoyin, that a Bezdin, no matter what they say, they can even if they make a mistake, it's a mistake. A Bezdin make a mistake. They made a mistake, or even deliberately they said something. The Bezdin, the Eibishter gave the Bezdin such a kiyach, such a strength, that says that Poshet changes the Metzius. A famous Poshet, Lekil Gimer Alai, the Rishalmi says that once it's the Psak of Tate is like that, it changes Poshet the Metzius. Like a Halacha, Maisa, the Gashmius, the physical thing changes. So since it's in such a thing, we have a Bezdin here, so the Bezdin, Shalmaila, has to agree to it. This Rebbe said standing. So he's making a Bezdin. I think he even said, Ich mach a Bezdin. It's not written in Sikh, but I remember correctly, the Rebbe said, Ich mach a Bezdin. I'm making a Bezdin right now, but there's a Bezdin and the people around, basing it on Avort and the Frierdiker Rebbe, but that the Bezdin Shalmato changes from its seers, that even the Bezdin Shalmaila has no say in this matter. They have to, whether they like it or not, they have to agree, and therefore all the things have to be fulfilled. It's written in the Pan, and the same thing now. So the Rebbe said, now we have more than a minyan. But Frierdiker Rebbe was just a minyan, not one minyan, many minyanim. We have to paskin. The psak has to be that should be fulfilled. Ashkifa Minkowicz min hashamayim v'arach samachas Yisrael. That even the dvarim shall klola nefachim lebrocha. That's Ashkifa Minkowicz. That even things that are be'etzim looks like a klola become to a brocha. That even the things that are heipach hateiv, but since maybe el leteitza rois, nothing bad comes out. So it's not ra'amiti. It can be ra'amiti. It must be a teif pnimi. But we're asking now that the chetzenius or the golu that is now not revealed, and we have to transform it to good. We should have it be'efen nira v'nikla, and then the Rebbe adds to be mahapech, to turn over and to transform all the svaris, all the logic, and all the reasons, and the nachas ruach that the Eibishter gets from the teva pnimi of Meitzer HaGolus. We said before the Mittel Rebbe's Maimer that the Eibishter gets a nachas ruach. This we also have to change. We have to change the Eibishter's nachas ruach. Get a nachas ruach from the Eibishter. Even do take a mitzvah barchove. What do they have to suffer? So the Maimer Mittel Rebbe said, "So she yitzah finished. We yitzah we finished with that, and that's over. It's over. Finished." And the main thing is not to forget the Yidden that are Meitzah v'Shivya behind the Iron Curtain that take a miyad before they come to Mashiach, not wartnik of Mashiach, not to wait for Mashiach. They should come on Meitzah Amercha Mechsheicha Le'era, should be able to become to the mitzvah Begolish, have Gula Protis, and through them should come the Gula Klolish. So this basically, it was more to it. It was a long Farbrengen. It was a miracle that they even made the Hanocha, because people mashkim it us. But it's this the Rebbe said standing. And you can stand the Yisrakshus. I mean, it's impossible to do the Yisrakshus. You can't copy the Yisrakshus. By the way, the Rebbe once, the Rebbe about himself, goes back, I think, in the Tavshin Yud Ches, Yud Tes, 1958, 59, the radio station then at Yisrael, there was one radio station called Yisrael, and basically one. So they wrote a letter to the Rebbe, that Lakovid, Yutas Kislev, which is a very big thing in Yisrael, Chakagulik, Vachabat, people know Yutas Kislev, they're asking the Rebbe if the Rebbe should speak and record in a tape, those built-to-built tapes, to record a message, or a shikha, message, whatever, and they said they'll play it for free, they'll play it on the radio. They'll hear the Rebbe's voice on the radio in Yiddish, what you should get. They wanted the Rebbe to record for Yutas Kislev. So the Rebbe thanked them, but the Rebbe said that Divrei Hiseiris, if I remember the Lashon of that letter, more or less, Divrei Hiseiris cannot be spoken of bihazmona. You invite now, get yourself in the mood of the business Seder and give over a Sikh Farbrengen. It's a special day. It's a Yom Skula. You can't be kenish noch machen. If it's not your Teskisla, but it's some day. And the Rebbe didn't do it. Could you imagine? The Rebbe had an opportunity. Whatever. But the Emes is Emes. That's what Rebbe wrote. Says again. we can't noch machen at all, but there was a tremendous Yisraelis that came like right after Samach Nafshi and right after Shir Samecho, and the Rebbe stood up, which was, the whole Ilam obviously stands up, yeah, this is the sight. When the Rebbe stands up, everyone's dancing or standing up, everybody was standing. So the whole Seir was a beznik, and the Rebbe was talking to the Rebbe. He said, listen, enough with this Nachas Ruach. This Nachas Ruach has to stop. It's enough. Enough Nachas Ruach has to go now from the Shabi Barchove mit all Inyonim L'mayla Mishur. So this, the Farbrengen continued in this vein, but these were the most important halakim that the Rebbe that spoke, and the Rebbe later on the Sikh also said that the Helen Behester in Russia should go away. They should, and especially now that there's a Yid over here that was zeicha to go out of Russia. We're speaking about Berkechem. Came from Acherim Moscha Basel and came to Israel, who's settling for Chabad. So this should be an opening the gates for our brothers that's just in Russia. We should also be able to go out in Ametzal, Amerchav, to go in the way, the base scale, and they spoke about Chabad, etc. So this was mamish the opening. That the Rebbe Pasha opened the doors, opened the gates of Russia. And there was, like it says in Medrash, it's kima, it starts little by little, because nobody came out of Russia even after that. This was tough. He came out Chav Aleph, Chav Beis, Chav Gimel also. Chav Dalet, remember, Chav Dalet, beginning of Kislev, the first week of Kislev, Mendel Futafas came out. Chav Dalet, I remember he came, a week later, he came to London, because the Prime Minister of London interceded on his behalf with Russia. They needed some help over there. So I think it was Wilson was his name, whatever. So he was the one because his family was in London already, and straight from there he came to the Rebbe. It's another story, but when he came over there, and a few months later came out the Basha Sasonkin.
Simcha Gorodetsky.
Was?
Simcha Gorodetsky.
Neshpeter.
Whatever.
If you look at this came out. Chavdalet, it was also Chavdalet was just a handful of people, and Chavei some more. Chavov came out a large group. Chavov was also Shnas Hashmit, and Chavzayim was Shnas Hakel. So the Rebbe came out. Many Chassidim Baruch Hashem came out at that time, and the Rebbe asked that all of them should come to New York for Tishrei, and the Rebbe's cheshbon. The Rebbe paid. Later on, they gave a participation. This was full expenses paid. Full expenses paid for the husband, the wife, and the kids. They all came. See, Kumen, Banenu, B'Nesenu, and especially the Yerab Hakel was God, Mamish, then it, and that's what opened up the gates. The gates with Ein Eved Yachal Evreich Misham. These gates opened up, and it happened by this Farbrengen. But Pasha, the Rebbe did this open, often at 8. Spoke about the Rebbe Marash, and if it doesn't go with Arkeneim, you have to go in any other ways. Baal Shem Skan Hoggers, even more than the Baal Shem Tov. You wrap all these things up, even more than the Baal Shem Tov and the Nachas Ruach that the Eibishter has from the Kichas Anshe Choyel. Enough of this Nachas Ruach, we have to have Nachas Ruach the other way. And then notwithstanding that the Friedrich Rebbe said, he was like all out, Friedrich Rebbe said that this Machen can missen sich in Balabatischkeit. What's going on over here? And he mentioned Mephiris. He knew it without saying it Barabim. And he said it Barabim. He said it Barabim that even though, and he mentioned it twice, that even though the Shveret Gezocht, you still have to do it. But you're not supposed to. You still have to do it. So Tzedek used to do it. That's that the Rebbe mentioned. Sometimes Rosh Hashanah, when the Rebbe mentioned Rosh Hashanah, that year there was always something happening. In Russia and America, things happened always. Many times the Rebbe mentioned on Rosh Hashanah that Tzemach Tzedek would machen Paratkis, that was the Lashon he used. Paratkis in Petersburg. Petersburg was the capital city in Russia then, and Paratkis used to arrange who should be the prime minister, who should be this, who should be the president, l'chaim. So this is just a glimpse. But that's the Rebbe Marash, that the Rebbe brought down Balshemsky and Hogis, and Apel Mamish, that Mamish had opened up the whole union of Russia, changing hands, l'chaim. Was?
Berkechem.
Meine mensen jammer na. Berkechem alleen komen en denken dat het brokkes. Ze wou zich niet schaffen. Dat wil de zaak.
Ze zijn de pictures. Die zoeken hem, ze komen de pictures dat ik ga zien.
Ja, the Rebbe said. Martin couldn't believe it. He's like the most wanted, the most wanted in the FBI. They said ze wel, dat is de los. Ze wel zich niet schaffen. How can that be? Ja, das ist klar. Let him out. Ich kann geweiht.
Ich bin meistens ein Kind, ich war
Ja,
das ist auch gut.
ich bin an Melamed. Schmuel, ich bin Melamed dich.
Darf ich noch auf alles? Warum haben noch? Ich bin der erste Talmud, ich bin der erste Talmidim.
Wir hängen an Kanschik, an immer auf dem Wand.
Oh.
Nicht auf der Wand.
Nee, das ist nicht gelandet bei ihm. Ich noch mit, noch mit.
Ich werde dir geschaut,
Das ist auf alle Fälle bei ihm geworden.
welke Kinder, weil er verloren hat, sagt David, hat nie gedacht. Ich bin
Was ist in der Kanzlei?
Ich sag, sorry,
Nur zu nehmen.
No, he used to just put it on the table, never touch it, never.
Hang on the table, just put it down.
Stay in our house. When he wrote a letter to the Rebbe, that day, Mamish, an andere Welt, he went in Mikveh, some people say he's Scheitchen.
Ich weiß nicht gezählt, aber die Table geht auch noch schön. Aber nicht das so, nicht das so. Hallo.
Vier Pot film. When he wrote to the Rebbe, the dog spread the Rebbe. Das wenn ich kommen her, der Rebbe. Kennen Sie, weiß ich, das haben wir noch gesagt. So, you lock yourself in a room, you write a letter this big, the ganze, you have a beautiful sound.
Yeah, beautiful. I have some things from him.
Yeah. By the way, he used to write to the Rebbe, a Rebbe in Melech HaMashiach.
Yeah.
When he spoke to the Rebbe in Yechidus also. So the Rebbe once the Rebbe asked him, why did you ask this? Where's it coming from? So he said, it's minded a hergish. The Rebbe smiled, the Rebbe answered all his letters. Just before Yechidus.
Beautiful Ksav, such a beautiful
Ksav. Yes. So he wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and the whole day he was locked up in the room. The whole came out with a letter in 20 pages, clean and brief. Somebody made a mistake, wrote it over again and again, gemacht und geschrieben.
Ich mache das Ding sehr Mezuse. Ich geschrieben ganzen Page. Als ich noch ein Show sage, das ist ein schön. Ich habe bisschen das geschrieben noch mal den ganzen Page.
That's what it took all day. It didn't come out on a page. I thought it's coming out. Right to the end of 20 pages. What's the kiss in the means? Chaim l'chaim. Chaim l'chaim. So, Shmuel, ich habe nicht, sag etwas. Ein Talmud von Berkechem.
זה ייחס, הוא לא אוהב מראה. Ich gucke, ob du mal wahrscheinlich.
Rebbe Marash, beim Bries, aber wusste man beim Bries, the Rebbe Marash, so the Tzemach Tzedek said that people should come there on time, and people came, and they didn't come out the whole time. Akaponim and Bach Mekitzer came out, it was 2 o'clock already, you said the Bries will be today. They're getting worried already. So his Rebbetzin, Tzemach Tzedek's Rebbetzin, asked one of the Chassidim, they should go into the Tzemach Tzedek and find out what's going on. What's the delay? People are waiting. If Chaim Avram, the Alter Rebbe's son, was there. So if Chaim Avram took a stop to Chos, he said, Tzemach Tzedek knows what he's doing, leave him alone. Came out again, 3 times he came out, and then he said the bris is going to be now, and then by the bris, the name is Shmuel. So the Maril asked his father, he says, nobody in the family, Shmuel. We don't, everyone's getting named after a family. So then he said, Efshel Gornach Shmuel Anovi. Maybe it's Shmuel Anovi, goes back to the source. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, he says, nach Avasa Träger in Polotsk, a water carrier in Polotsk, and Chochem Adif Anovi. This must be a tzaddik nishter, and Tzemach Tzedek was waiting for Pashtus till he went up in Gan Eden. And then he was able to give the name. After the Kvura, I don't know exactly, but after the Kvura, upon him, the delay was because of that. Okay, so there's a Farbrengen. But they were taking the time, the Kvura, so he couldn't give a name till after the Kvura. So he had to wait till 4 o'clock. From the morning they were waiting. There was by Farbrengen, Purim, Tovshin Chavches. The Rebbe spoke a few times. He spoke to Sinyan that why the mother asks what caused this whole Indian, the terrible gzeira of Haman. So one of the things it says, the Rebbe explained. Remember, when I was younger, I remember the Rebbe spoke Barichas about this. That the need of Nene, the whole problem is that Anoy gehat. You had Anoy. You're forced to go to the Surah Hashveh. Vos host to Hanoi. Why are you enjoying it? You're going to the king's palace and Tal Zachen. There's a Klei HaMikdash sitting there. You see the desecration was in the time between after the Churban Bayis Rishon, before the Bayis Sheni. Vos host to Hanoi. So Chavchez, the Rebbe also spoke the Sinyan, and the Rebbe said that Hanoi, you can be on this world and having Gashmias, and not have a nur, that Alter Rebbe says in Tanya about Rabbeinu Kodesh or Neno, that he didn't have a nur from the Elam Hazeh at all. Rabbeinu Kodesh was an Osher Muflik. He was a friend that happened with the ministers in Rome, with the Melech in Rome, with everything else. He even had a tunnel going from his house to his house, all the Sachen, but he didn't have a nur. And the Rebbe said that if you come to the Beis HaMikdash, Zolzan, you're forced to go. You can go for a different kavanah. Maybe you say you could have gone to. You want to see the Klei HaMikdash. The Klei HaMikdash was on the table then. Achashverosh was a Meishal Bekippur, so he had the kelim of the Beis HaMikdash also. And then he has no other breder. Go for that. But what do you have to know? And then the Rebbe said that we have also that we find by many Gdei Yisrael that their hanhoge was in the way of rachvis, but ashiras. So the question is, what do you need this for? What do you need this rachmas? What does a person need such riches with alle Sachen? And not only that, the Rebbe says, by having that, you can be gedim, you can machshil somebody to think about his Rebbe, Maharach Rabbi. The Rebbe is like, Rebbe, what is all this about? What's happening over here? And then Maharach Rabbi, Maharach Ashkin, Zol Bazach. And the Rebbe said, the story of my Zayder, that's Rebbe Tzimchane's father, Meir Shleimer, he was one of the Yeshvim by the Rebbe Marash. It was before Timchat Mimim was established. So people used to go and to learn by the Rebbe. The Rebbe Marash is a shul, because that's when you learned. There was big Talmidei Chachomim, and you learned the Chavrusim and Shiurim, called the Yeshvim. And the Rebbe said, the Maimer HaMusger, he went right after the Chassan. He got married. Right away, he went to Lubavitch to be by the Rebbe Marash. So this was then a Molokiyah. Now the Seder is that right after the wedding you go for a honeymoon. And the Levi, the Rebbe said, this minig. It brings many mechsheli, many things, problems. And nobody, it seems that's a big wonder that nobody looks into it, nobody cares that the things that can come out of a young couple right after the chasana, without even knowing a din, without a shem, and everything else, they're going to tremendous nisyenis to going in, even if they go to a city that has kashrus, that has Yiddishkeit, that kosher a mikveh, etc., especially nowadays, they go davke in the Bahama Islands up before, okay? And davke Miami Beach, and davke in those places that doesn't have a kosher mikveh. And davke, right after Shiris HaMishan, the Hadrin, Minam Hadrin, they run away, they're right after the chuppah. They run away. So the Rebbe said, this is a Maimer HaMuzga. By the way, no one even looks in this, but since we're now in the time of Simcha, it was on Purim, the Geli Yanenu, the Seder was that they used to go for many months to learn by the Rebbe in Lubavitch. The same thing was my grandfather. So right after the Chasana, he went for 6 months or for a year, and he was by the Yeshvim, by the Rebbe Marash. And then when he came back, so people asked him, what's it look like in Lubavitch? Says, Rebbe, Allah Zachem. So he told him, he started telling him, what's going on with my mother, and I told him the Rachvas, the thing is, that he said that the Rebbe said, the Friedrich Rebbe said that the Rebbe Marash had a lot of involvement with government people in Peterburg, many stories. So everything by him was gold. For example, he had a watch and gold. Not one watch. He had 2 watches. And the way it was in those days, that the watch was kept, not like today you keep it on your hand and your arm, but then there was a special in a giletke. A vest. Yeah. The Rebbe called it again. The Rebbe says in Russia, a giletke. Oh, it's called a vest. The Rebbe said it. Here's a vest. So you had one watch, a golden watch, on the right side. Then he had a golden watch on the right side, on the left side. Okay? And each one of those watches was attached to a golden chain. It wasn't just you pull it out. It had a golden chain to it. And the same thing for smoking. Some of the Rabbeim used to smoke. So you had a golden holder for the cigars. The Rebbe said Zigaretten tribal. I remember in the olden days, people didn't smoke today with a filter. You rolled up the thing yourself and put tobacco in, but you didn't want to put that in your mouth because it would melt in your mouth. So they had a little thing sticking out, a little hole. That you kept for yourself. You put the cigarette in there. So even that, to hold those things, was also made out of gold. And so everything for the tabak, the thing, and the spoons and the forks, even the walking cane that he had, we also had on the top was covered with gold. And the same thing with his clothes that he wore. The same thing the coach that he had, and all the things. So he started giving it over. So they asked him, Father Rav, what is this? What's this thing? Is there any purpose that you have to have all these things made out of gold for a Rebbe? What's going on over here? He could have given all this money for tzedakah, and he could have eaten bread and water, and that's it. He didn't have Golos. What all of a sudden is such a riches? So he told him, Rabbi Shleimer, Rabbi Zayda says, petach means full. He said, for who was the gold created in this world? For me, for you, or for Goyim Lahavdil? It's him, for him, to use it in Avodas Hashem. So that's a story that you see, Barchove, the Ashirus of the Rebbe Marash, in a way of an unusual way. And the Rebbe said, you find something with the Rebbe Marash, the exact opposite. What do you find? That the Rebbe Marash used to go many times early in the morning. He was to get up early and daven. And then he used to go out in the forest near Lubavitch. He used to go out to take a walk. And for that, he had a coach with 4 or 6 horses, not with 1 horse, 2 horses, 4 or 6 horses, the Melech, with a Balagola. It's called in Russian a kucher. And he was ready, waiting. He knew he has to wait for the Rebbe, punkt to the minute. Everything was meduyik, punkt to the minute. And he used to bring the Rebbe Marash to the forest, and after some time he used to come back. And this, the Balagola, the Kutcher was a goy, and he was instructed not to say one thing to anybody about what goes on the trip, etc., etc. But there was a Chassidim Kedarkom, like they wanted to know what's going on. So they found a way how to get the guy to speak. I don't know if they gave him a lot of mashka to drink or another way. They had to open his mouth. B'chol Eifen, the gang in the yard. They ganged up on him, and he started talking. It was a shikir. He started talking, and he said the first thing he said, "Chudnoy Chilavek." Chudnoy Chilavek means a queer, strange fellow, strange guy. He's talking about the Rebbe Marash. Chudnoy Chilavek. He says he has a crazy, unusual way how he conducts himself. It's completely not understood. He comes to the forest. He sits down under a tree and starts to cry. All of a sudden, ants, murashkes, ants, appear from all the sides, and he doesn't throw them off. He's sitting and crying, and all of a sudden, all the ants run away. He stops crying, and then we come back, and we come back to the city, to Lubavitch. So the guy was Shudnoy Chilavek. He says, "Stomp lachayit." What's he crying about? What's he crying? And the Rebbe was like smiling. The Rebbe says, "What's he missing? He has a beautiful coach with a balagola. He has a wife. He has children. He has 2 golden watches. He has a walking cane with a golden thing. And he goes from his palace. He lived in a beautiful house. After the fire in the Lubavitch. He built up a beautiful house over there in Mittenwald. He sits down under a tree, lets the ants crawl all over him, and he's crying. And he does this every day. Every single day he's doing the same thing. What's he crying about? He doesn't understand. And he says, another thing I don't understand, the guy says, he said, all of a sudden, all the ants, just that they came all of a sudden, they all go off. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything to them. They run away by themselves, and then he gets up and he goes. No, Al Kaponim, he said that the Chassidim couldn't hold themselves in after this amazing story. They started telling one to the other, and Sof Kol Sof it reached the Rebbe Marash that the guy opened his mouth. So right away, the Rebbe said, like you say over here, he was fired. The Rebbe said in English that he was fired, and that's it. He can't trust you. But this Balagola came back and was crying to the Rebbe Marash, "Please, I promised everything else. He's not going to tell anymore. It's a secret. Anything else." At the end of the day, they did bring it back. The Rebbe, not for bringing it. The Rebbe spoke about Ninveh. That Ninveh, even by a goy, the tshuva helps even by goyim. So the Rebbe Marash accepted the tshuva, and the Rebbe said, "Why am I telling this story over here? Because you see such a seder that you see a coach with 4 or 6 horses, the best." A special balagola, special by that, goes every single day. And if the goy wouldn't have said what he said, we would think, yeah, it's nice. The Marash, he has time. He's going to relax a little in the forest every day. Goes for half an hour. He's relaxing. Because the goy opened his mouth, he found out that this has to do with something else completely. There's b'chias and shigufim, and there was ants that were biting. And then when you don't want the ants to be there, they all go away. They all disappear all of a sudden. That means it was everything that he knew exactly what was going on, what's happening. Nevertheless, if he wouldn't have heard about it, he wouldn't even know. And for this we understand also that when the ants did come on, it was just they were taking a walk, and all of a sudden they walked on everything even that he wanted them to come on onto him. Okay? So this the Rebbe says, this gives a little bit of an understanding that it could be a metzias about the הקודש. It says that pasuk mishlochonim leitzniv lechazeres, that the greatest delicacies that you couldn't get anywhere, imported products that you couldn't get, on his table was always there, and nevertheless, he didn't have a how does it happen? Here we see exactly such a story. So the Rebbe said the same thing in our times, that all the rachvas that we see today in the world, not only ruchnius, but also the gashmius, was all created for Yidden. But it's a big nisoyin. And the some that are able to withstand the nisoyin of riches, and there's some that can't. Or some, for whatever reason, didn't come yet to that, okay? But be'etzem, every single Yid is worth to have all the rachvis, abundance in the entire world. And we see that the Alter Rebbe brings in Torah Eid, that in Nebuchadnezzar, we find that he went 3 steps, the covenant of the Eibishter. Because of that, he was blessed to have a malucha on the whole world for him and his generations, for 3 generations. The Alter Rebbe writes, there's not one Jew in the world that didn't mechabed the Eibishter, so therefore, the whole goodness of the physical world was kedai for him. Everything, this Alter Rebbe writes in Torah. So the Chadnasa Melech Bavel, the Rebbe said, he destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, and he was an Achzer for Yehudim, for Yidden, and for Goyim, like it says in Tanakh. Nevertheless, just for walking 3 steps with the cover of the Eibishter, he was zeicher to be a Melech B'Kippur. So we understand that any matzah that he is, he's achmol in mitzvahs, a lot more obviously than just walking 3 steps for the Eibishter. So he should have lei be'erech more than what the Nebuchadnezzar got for the 3 steps that he did. And that's the power of a Yid, that if he gets himself used to this Aveda, he should have everything, Begashmias, and he shouldn't have, the table shouldn't be missing anything. And for the people that eat at the table, it should be the mind of the matzah. At the same time, Lalein Nenem Elam Hazek Rabbeinu Kodesh. And should be like Yehudim Ha'Yisraelim V'Simcha V'Sosam V'Kod V'Eif Nachiposh, like he explained to children, Ribu Eira, a lot of Simcha, a lot of Sosna, a lot of Yekod, and all of that shouldn't disturb him of serving Hashem and Adonai even more. So this, the Rebbe spoke Barichas about the Sinyan that we see by the Rebbe Marash. It's such a gewaldige thing. We find there's other daily Israel also, that you find such an Indian that they had a chov in Gashmis and they used it to show that many people were surprised that was done. But the Rebbe just give a little bit of a glimpse, and you see that the Machzadik himself says, "Ich darf das nicht," and she give it to his son, and the son will be milo all the things that have to be done. No, Chaim, L'chaim.
Shiyo esamech
Oreches nachlosecho Orei v'nashem Adorei lo Shiyo esamecho Oreches
Chaim, zog l'chaim. Bukhar, אני חצי אותי, זוג לחיים, בואו. Bukhar. That's a danger job.
But the Farbrengen I mentioned before of Toshachot Beis, which was one of the most unusual Farbrengens ever, I think in the history of the Rebbe. Every Farbrengen obviously is special, even Farbrengen in 5 minutes. Nevertheless, something that's been in people's mind forever and ever. So by that Farbrengen, the Rebbe also spoke about the Rebbetzin, the Rebbe Marash, Rebbetzin Rivki. And as we know, she was a big Tzidkonius. She helped out a lot of people, helped out later on the Bachrim in Lubavitch, Timchat Mimim. And so the Rebbe Marash, his Rachvos and the Ashirus spread also for the Rebbetzin. He used to buy you all types of presents and jewelry, etc., in a big abundance. But she was involved in a lot of inyonim of tzedakah. She gave a lot of charities, it was chasodim, achnosas kala, and all types of things. And they needed a lot of money. So what did she do? She needed money. She didn't have money, but she did have some jewelry. So she went like what they call today a pawn shop. She gave a mashkin away the things, and she got money for it. And the Viola, she had money to give out. Achnosas kala, tzedakah, all good zach. And it's known in Mishpachas Beis Harav that, and the Rav, most of the times, the Seder was that the Rebbe Marash used to travel a lot to Chutz La'aretz. A lot he traveled for Yoni HaKlal, like we said before, he was in Sometimes he traveled for health reasons, etc. He was out of Lubavitch many months, okay? When he came back, so right away he used to check up which things did she pawn away, and he had to redeem it. So meanwhile, she did the tzedakah. And many times, the Rebbe Marash would say to his Rebbetzin, Rebbetzin Rivke, come along, I'm going on a trip, come along with me. And it was quite often that he went. And she said, most times she told him, listen, take the money that you want to spend on me for the trip and give it a better for tzedakah. The tzedakahs that I have, I'll take the money for tzedakah. That's what she was involved in tzedakah. No, now she herself, obviously, she was an anical of the Mittel Rebbe. The Mittel Rebbe had a daughter, Sora, that was her mother, and she grew up by the Samach Tzedek as a daughter-in-law. So she understood what it means, a matona of the Rebbe Marash, and to go with the Rebbe Marash. Nevertheless, to her, the tzedakah was even more important. And so this is especially rare for us in our time also. He said that in our times we have these women that they pressure their husbands, they should work overtime and everything else, make panose, it should be hachovek deil, a lot more than, but everything with an abundance, etc. Till it became the Seder, came down in America, it's a country that has all kinds of innovations, etc., that in addition, that the furniture in the house should be in a very, very beautiful way. And they say that in Shleimus Odom, it says in Gemara, Kol mi she'en li bayis, ein li Odom. If you don't have a house, you don't have a home, you're not a mensch, okay? So that's a chayin. They convince themselves that if Chas v'Sholem be missing something in the furniture, it'll be missing in the Shleimus Odom, so they need it to be a mensch. But now in America became also not only the furniture, but also the floor. The floor is Chas v'Sholem, you should be able to see the actual wood on the floor. What the floor is made of, but the floor must be completely covered, I would say, with a carpet. And not only that, the carpet has to be so big, it should be from one. The Rabbi said, I remember the Rabbi said in English, wall to wall carpet. A few times the Rabbi by different Farbrengens. That was a Mishagayas at that time. Take it, a wall to wall carpet, and not Chas v'Sholem. It should be made out of two parts and glued together. It should be me'er echad for one piece. Even though that it costs a lot of money. But nevertheless, it's one thing. It costs a lot more money, but that's what they want. So what are we talking about here? We're talking here about a carpet that the feet walk on it. It's nothing they gave for Chabad, Chochmah Bina Das in his head, or the Midrash of Alev. Bullshit for the feet. And in the feet itself, it's not that it'll help the feet. It's not going to help the feet anything. No one has a nerve from it. It's just walking, can walk. Not the woman, not the wife, not the husband. It's just of gaiva v'yeshes that she be able to pride herself with the neighbors and the friends that she has in her house. She has a carpet wall to wall for one piece. That's the whole thing. No one benefits from it. And for this thing, for this gaiva that they have, and this pride, you waste money that they could have given to the tzedakah. And she fetches the husband. They should go and work and to spend many hours, extra hours that he could have spent on learning Torah. Like it says in Shulchan Aruch learned Rabbi, he said that this machla, this sickness, are crept into even in Bati Anash. Minkowicz says also that they fetch the husband, they should put all this keiches and panosa, not to have a lechem lechel, a beged bilbish, to have what to eat and clothes to wear, but just to show off for the friends that for this, he doesn't get the opportunity to learn Torah. And even this is speaking about Chassidische women, and everything in Torah mitzvahs they do properly, and even al Chassidus of Nimbushos Adin. Nevertheless, when it comes to Inyan Chitzeni, what will the Shochem to say? They lose themselves completely, verliert in Ganzen, and the Rebbe said understood that this is specifically by husbands that don't have a dei atzmis, they don't have an independent opinion. Because before, when they were younger, they were dependent on the chokhmah of the mother. Later, they become dependent on the chokhmah of the wives, like the Rambam says. So by them, for sure, the wife has the upper hand. Nashon Dait and Kalos. They should learn less Torah, and be able to get this carpet made echad. And the same thing with a Hollywood kitchen. The Rebbe spoke about this a few times. And the Rebbe smiled. I remember like today, the Rebbe smiled. And the Rebbe said, there's people here that don't know what is a Hollywood kitchen. So the Rebbe said the Rebbe should help them. They shouldn't know from this for 120 years. They shouldn't know what's a Hollywood kitchen. No, and not only that, amongst these people, among the ladies and men, there's people that lived in Russia, and by them they knew the pshitus. They have to be meisam nefesh v'yiddishkeit without thinking about anything else, just not to get affected what other people are saying. Even the majority of Yidden, and here they come over here, they get influenced by the wives, and the pashtus, they know that they have to get a Hollywood kitchen and also a television. They're able to see all kinds of things that lahav and kitzish and all this for him. You don't find it. And not only that, if he has a basement, so Bahim Pashto says he has to have a television in the basement. That every place in the house where the kids are running around, they should also get destroyed through looking at the television. The Rebbe said that in Chassidus brought down that a basement is a place avim ufish. It's not a clear, a good ear. So if you have even over here, even over there, they have to bring the television also. And the Rebbe said, I asked a young man who came into Yechidus, said, what about Kviyas Yitim L'Teira? What do you have the time that you learn Teira? So he said, the Rebbe says, he answered me, Kol B'utik, without batting an eye, he doesn't have time to learn. He has to panosha. He has to set up his house barchova. He has to have a proper house. So the Rebbe said, we're talking here about a young man with a full beard. He learned on Nemchat Mimim. He was in Russia in the Maimon of Masa Mesidas Nefesh. And he comes into Yechidus the way he himself calls it, Yechidus. What's Yechidus? That Yechidah b'nefesh of one Yid speaks to Yechidah b'nefesh of another Yid. So B'sas Ma'aseh said b'pshitas and b'tmimis, without thinking. He has no time to learn as fayokt in Parnose for Inyonim Meisres. Not that he has nothing to eat. He needs like the Rebbe said, he needs the Hollywood kitchen, he needs the wall-to-wall carpet. And this younger man, when we give out mashkiv, simchas teira, for learning extra chassidus, he is the first one to push. What this is, the Rebbe used to teach, we know, the Negunim, simchas teira, after Akofas, which finished around 3 o'clock in the morning, the Rebbe used to go upstairs to the Friedrich Rebbe's apartment and to eat the Sudas Yom Tov. Then the Rebbe would come down and teach a nigun. And the nigun, the Rebbe used to give out l'chaim, only for people that undertake to have a Yosef Yechidus. So the Rebbe said, this young man, we give out mashkas and chasteda, Yosef Yechidus, he is the first one to push. So this is about a person, a young man, the Rebbe says, that has all the animations. You think he works, and he has. Same thing, Rebbe said, I had Yechidus, by me another younger man. He doesn't have all these things. And he also says he has no time to learn. Why? Because he has to argue with his wife why he has the money to buy all these Hollywood kitchens. So this is his time. He's spending his time arguing with his wife. How come he doesn't have a Hollywood kitchen? So I said these are two examples, one from a rich man and one from a poor man. They're both influenced by their wives. That's because of that. They have no time for learning Torah. So I said I don't want to be ma'irich in this because it's ain't seikin alahova. But from now and onwards, they should give. That everybody, they should make the gashmias a keli for a lokus, and the strength that women have to kvetch the husbands from now on should be on the opposite. Instead of until now they kvetch them, they should be involved in panosa over their heads. From now on, they should kvetch the husband to learn Torah, not just to be yetzel shira chitas, but to learn a lot of Torah. It says from the Alter Rebbe. And this is the hero from the above-mentioned story about the Rebbetzin Rivka, the Rebbe Marash's Rebbetzin, that even though she was a Sitkonius, it was higher than Merumas Ma'am, higher than everybody, we have to learn from her that even if you have jewelry that she received as a matone from the Rebbe Marash, she understood what it was. Nevertheless, it didn't take away from the learning Torah, and she what did she do? She used it for Yonam Torah mitzvahs, that these extra tafshitim, this extra jewelry, and extra furniture, all these things becomes a mania, hindrance learning Torah. So you have to, in Bavata, you give up on that, in order that the husband should have time to learn Torah, that all the things that we have to say, the Fedis, the Sheikh Chabad, is to push the husbands, the fathers, the brothers, they should learn Torah beribui, and the women should be mishtadel, that the husbands should take off from the time that they're involved in Panosa and to add time learning Torah, and to say, I give up, I don't care about all the Yanamesas, all the extravagance and things that I don't need, in order we should be able to learn Torah, like it says in the Torah. This itself will be a keli, Panosa Barchov, not daimach Seder, just enough, but to have literally to have ashirus, to have a lot of money. It shouldn't be a hell and a hester until the mitzvahs. Adarabbe, the ashira asma should be a kilo lokus. So this the Rebbe again. The Farbrengen was all revolving Simchas Torah, all about the Rebbe Marash and Rebbe Marash and about the Rebbe's, etc., etc. So this is a royal negel Baal. There's a story, just a Kudus Maisa, the Tzemach Tzedek once called in a famous Chossid. Mein älter Zayder, the Meir Simchas, my älter Zayder, his Zayder, a Peretz Chaim, he was a Chossid, actually, the whole story, not the story now how he came to the Alter Rebbe, and his father came to Alter Rebbe, and he was a Chossid actually, who saw the Alter Rebbe
6 generations.
Three times, and he saw the Mittel Rebbe, and he saw the Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe Rashab, and he saw the Friedeker Rebbe. He was a young child. He passed away Farbrengen Gimel. Chaba of Iyer, he passed away. Said should be a Said. Farbrengen Gimel, and the Friedeker was born. The son was Farbrengen. So he actually, not he could have seen that. It's not that many years. It's less than 90 years. You can manage to do this trick, but he actually didn't. A lot of people could have done it. He did it. So upon him, he was actually the one who started to go to the Burim. The Tzemach Tzedek didn't want to become Rebbe. Isaac Homler, they came to Tzemach Tzedek. They forced it on him, and he said he has a Gemara to prove it. And the Tzemach Tzedek after that, he changed on Shavuos. So upon him, he was very close to the Tzemach Tzedek. He was mainly a chossid of the Mittel Rebbe, but he was also very close to the Tzemach Tzedek, and actually made the Tzemach Tzedek, pushed him to become Rebbe. So once the Tzemach Tzedek calls him and he says, Peretz, was sagst du, was darf Yid heint haben, begashmius. Not the Tavne Barichas, he asked him, begashmius, was darf Yid heint haben, what does a Yid need nowadays, physically, materially? He's a smart man, he understands that Tzemach Tzedek doesn't need his opinion. There must be something in Shemayim going on over there that they need somebody down here who understands what Gashmius is. Malachim don't understand Gashmius. It said, everyone said, Malachim, they came down in this world. They ate Basar B'chol, they didn't know what's going on, I feel it, by Avraham Avinu. Akapanim, was darf Yid haben? So the Peretz says, Ich halt, as jeder Yid darf haben Fisch und Fleisch jeden Tag, have my eigene Stub, he has his own house, and have a wagon, like today would be, today's a car, a shenem car, it's zwei Feld, und 1000 Rubel, it's 10,000 Rubel in bank. That's what he told the Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek said, Ich halte ich hazeh. I agree with you. And later people said that it's a shemaisa like that, but about Shem Tov's story, that the Bezin Shlomayla, they were saying, well, they didn't complaining, they're always crying, they need. Enough is enough. So they wanted to know, what's that Yid Hob? So they needed somebody on this world to pass up Paskinen. So the Tzemach Tzedek took him in, and the Gepaskin, and the Tzemach Tzedek said, Ich halte ich hazeh. So it was a Himmel Shemaisa. So whatever we heard over here, the Rebbe said that Yid Hom take alle Sachen, nicht nur dem Achsedet, aber Gashmi, Beruchni, B'shun Chas V'Sholem, take away from Limad HaTeira and all the Inyanim was the Rebbe meant. Chaim L'chaim.
Was du genommen? Man kann nicht den Schabes. Der Schabes ist privat, darf zahlen noch die Texte immer noch jeder darf zahlen Texte. Jetzt ich glaube, wenn das genommen sei es niedrig ansetzt und die Kinder auf der Straße auf der Tag gehen in Teich. Dann mit der brechen die Eis, brecht man die Eis. Tabelzer und mit Pavole. Da und da. Zehner Säge, auch von der Historie. Und Baruch Hashem, Parnas Baruch, wenn noch ein Hand kommen rein, darf ein Bilder, macht Bilder, Baruch Hashem, Parnas. Ich hatte schon Parnas, was tut man mit dem? Ich habe genommen die Geld, später genommen ein paar Groschen, die übrige Geld, ich habe von dem genommen. Bis hat gearbeitet, bis München. Ja, sicher, da gehen da mit. Die Namen von der Ghetmin, kommen sie mit der Zeit. Nicht gerade Scholem, sondern wegen der Zeit da, Zeit verlernen. Der Geist nicht, also ich habe mit seiner Gündel. Nein, ich mich. Der muss auch wirklich du willst. Später krieg ich Schule, bleib. Die Zeit, es ist noch mehr Zeit, da fällt Geld in den Zimmer.
Geld was ich nicht.
Geld von dem nicht, nicht für sich. Ja. Hat viel habe ich nicht gefallen. Ich wollte so. Aber sie haben gedacht, ich schon vorgerecht. Weißt du was, Kinder, was sagt er? Am ersten Tag ist gegangen. Da rein Goy, geht da gucken die Fotografien so. Der Kasse mit Tag. Hat gar nicht gemacht, kein Picture hat nicht gemacht. Verstanden das? Ja, ein Krieg zu die alte Wegen.
In Pamela.
Wer das gewinnt? Sagst du, wir resten in der Mikve, und gehört der Meister. Ich habe nicht jetzt für einen Mendel, ich habe noch jetzt für einen Mendel. Alle, was wahrscheinlich seine Meister, ist eine von den Meisters doch. Bestimmt, als er mal gerät, die Meile von Berkechein, die hat mich sehr Nefesh, die hat ein Lung, ich sage, ganze Meister, sagt er, ihr weiter, no, mit Gerät, als Berkechein geht in Mikve und der Tebelzach, Schei, Twiles. Woche im Gerät, bei Farbrengen. Der Mann sagt euch, Berkechein, ich habe sagen, was Berkechein hat getan, ich habe gesehen, hat zerbrochen die Eis und in die Eis hat gemacht, Scheit will es. Und das hat Rebmendel gesagt. Hat gesehen, hat gebrochen die Eis.
Einmal in der Balschemten auf sich, als steht, einmal.
Aber sie gehen alle Tage, das sind erzählt, sie gehen alle Tage, wir brechen die Eis.
Aber wenn man sagt, das ist macht Scheit will es. Ich habe gesehen, brecht die Eis, in die Eis macht Scheit will es.
Gesagt hat, der Rebbe hat gesagt, dass schon sein Melech HaMashiach, sein Melech Mashiach.
Weiß ich nicht, das darfst du wissen. Du bist doch der... Was? Weiß nicht.
Ich habe selbst die Hand befussen, sein Xabe ist da.
Oh, das hast du geschrieben, ja? Ja, der Melech Moshe.
Zum Rebbe? Ja, Fall. Und er hat ihm geämpft. Am Paris sicher?
Nein, von Paris hat das...
Oh, hat er muss gelernt? Oh.
Aber bei ihm ist es ja nicht so unterschiedlich.
Nein, sie gehen letztens, sie gehen immer so nicht. Sie gehen aber am Schirr.
Letztens bei uns der Fall jemand anders.
Ja.
No, das war... Hallo. Sie voran am Brief.
Das ist schon